in Iran, meanwhile, has sentenced a Belgian aid worker to 28 years in prison for what the Belgian government has called a fabricated series of crimes. The Belgian Justice Minister said that 41-year-old Olivier Vandecasteele was jailed as retribution for Belgium's jailing of an Iranian diplomat a year ago. Well, for more on that, we're joined by Darya Safai. She's a Belgian member of parliament, and I understand that you yourself have Iranian roots. Good evening, and thank you very much for joining us.
Good evening. Thank you for inviting me.
So the government believes that this is linked to the jailing of the Iranian diplomat Asadollah Assadi. Can you tell us more about that?
Yes, sure. Asadollah Assadi is a terrorist and at the same time the diplomat of Iranian regime in the embassy of Germany, and he planned a terrorist attack in Paris, and he was condemned here in Belgium for 20 years of prison. And the problem is that the regime of Islamic Republic tries to save him and to receive him as a hero inside Iran. And that's why they thought, now that he's condemned in the justice of Belgium, we should find some innocent person and we should take him as hostage to just change him with the terrorist Asadollah Assadi. And that's how they try to convince the Belgian government to play the same game. And unfortunately, they tried to do it. Even they legalized in the parliament, Belgian parliament, the deal that they should care for this change of the prisoners. And unfortunately, even though we have set up a lot about how this is unfortunate, this is against this is not for Olivier Vandecasteele, this is not a good way, they didn't accept. And now we see that the Constitutional Court of Belgium didn't accept this law because they believe that it is against the human rights of the victims here in Paris and in Belgium.
So would you support a prisoner exchange? And if not, what are the other options to try and get this aid worker released?
I absolutely not accept the prisoner exchange with a terrorist. That's why we also in Parliament, we told them, the government, about this is not just a good way to exchange two prisoners, which one of them is a terrorist which wanted to play a terror attack here on the soil of Europe. So we are against it. I am against it. But there are fortunately other ways to make it happen, to make it realized. But what the world sometimes forget is the only language that Islamic Republic of Iran knows is the language of power and force. This is how it works. If you just want to negotiate and to show no power, they never accept what you are going to tell them and ask them to do. Like, if you remember 7 years ago, the only reason that they signed those nuclear accords with the world was the pressure which America put on them. The pressure and any options was out of thinking. But today in Europe and in the West country doesn't exist. They should show that they have the power to make them do what they want. Olivier Vandecasteele is not the only hostage of Europe.
Would you support paying a ransom, for example, such as was done by the British to release an Iranian hostage being held there?
Not
Nazanin
at all.
Zaghari-Ratcliffe? No?
Not at all. The money that the West countries pay to the regime of Iran uses it against the Western countries and the proxy wars and supporting terrorist organizations such as Hezbollah, Hamas. This is not the way that you should save Olivier. in my opinion, saving the hostages which now are in Iran, and even showing the regime what they are doing with their own people as not acceptable, is that all the West countries come together, make a very huge and important plan together, all together, to put more sanctions, to close their embassies here, and to ask their ambassador to come back until they accept that they make those innocent citizens free.